Hello, good afternoon. My name is Christian Putz. I'm representing Violin Memory for Central Eastern Europe and Middle East. Just to give a further introduction about myself, before taking on this opportunity to represent Violin, I have been 14 years with EMC in various EMEA management positions. And I would like to contribute to this summit in the way linking my presentation to the initial podium discussions. So there have been a lot of buzzwords like customer relationship management is going to be key, new applications to be implemented, how to get closer to a customer. If we translate this from an IT perspective, I'm sure you all agree with me that this is putting a huge load on your current IT infrastructure. So let me use my remaining time to give you an idea on how we already helped or could help you achieving your business objectives. Before getting into it, let me give a brief overview about Violin. So Violin Memory is a young company. We have been founded in 2005 and we are selling flash memory technology since 2009. That's a significant difference compared to other companies investing now into flash technology. We are headquartered in Mountain View, California. Currently more than 400 employees and growing rapidly. One point to highlight is that Violin has a strategic relationship with Toshiba. So Toshiba is on one side an investor in our company, but for us more important, we have a strategic supply agreement with them. Toshiba just has two vendors, they have such type of agreement. One is Apple and the second one is Violin Memory. But from a technology point of view, it enables us to have access to the next 4 generations of upcoming NAND technology. This is very important for us to use this joint research and development where we as a company build our own intellectual property about a Toshiba component, which is basically the NAND chip. So let me ask you some questions up front. If you look at your business environment right now, is what if you could accelerate the performance of a critical application by a minimum factor of 5 to 10 times. We are not talking percentage here, we're talking about a real acceleration in a times factor. As the same speaking, you can reduce your total cost of ownership by up to 70%, reduce floor space of your infrastructure by up to 80%, and the same percentage you could achieve from a power consumption point of view. The real value we bring to the market is that we allow you, by changing information storage technology, without and almost zero impact change required to your current operational setup. That's one of the big reasons why we see such a strong success of Violin Memory. We are focusing basically on two things. One is application acceleration, and the second is related infrastructure optimization. So if we look at core areas customers consider or already implemented Violin Memory, if you look at your business, the majority of your application runs on an enterprise business critical database, Oracle, SQL, MySQL, you name it. Business enterprise applications like fraud management systems always or very often rely on a critical database underneath. And what we see more and more from a security cost efficiency point of view, especially in the finance sector, customers deploying virtual infrastructures. So we just had a recent success in UK where the Finance Institute virtualized 4,700 clients from the entire trading floor running this environment on Violin as a strategic platform. So here we could also contribute to other business aspects and help you moving forward. Server virtualization, everyone talks about it, but let's be honest to ourselves, how many of your real tier 1 applications you have already virtualized? So there's a lot of benefit in front of us we could gain from an infrastructure optimization and still enabling you to further accelerate the applications on top. What's basically the problem? If you look at traditional infrastructure, that's all based on legacy storage systems. So disk has been replacing tape, but since this, nothing has really changed. So we are still used to the classic, how do we handle I/O boundaries, how do we get faster response from the systems, how do we further scale and match the requirements needed from an IT perspective to help you implementing new business applications you want to present to your customers. Globalization, mobile users are highly appreciated by an end user perspective, but there is no classic open window anymore. So when I do my net banking transaction at 10 o'clock in the evening, there is no traditional window anymore where you need to secure that your operation is delivered in a way that you achieve highest customer satisfaction. Last but not least, we see that this is leading to an increased cost, to a certain increase of risk. It is not really contributing to get you more competitive towards your clients or towards your competitions, and we see more and more missed service levels agreements. So what are options our customers are considering? So there are some single-use tactical high risk. So you go for an engineered appliance, you try database in the newer version, in-memory databases like SAP HANA, SAS Analytics, or new upcoming big data applications, which is already going in a tactical emerging technology. So people are testing on how this could help them moving forward. And last but not least, the traditional approach. You need to scale. You try to scale by further investing in keep your operation running on the existing investment you did in the past. So how are we finally addressing this? We are fixing the problem by leveraging the technology advantage in removing your primary root cause of the problem, which is the latency of the system. So an entire flash-based enterprise storage system gives you sustained high performance at extreme high I/O capability with an extreme low latency. And that is allowing us to give some examples of what we have seen customers gaining by implementing or migrating a tier 1 application onto Violin from an enhancement perspective. So we see up to 10-to-1 reduction in an infrastructure cost, 50 to 70% reduction in application costs related to it. But from an operational point of view, you are able to run 10 to 50 times more virtual machine on the same type of environment. Further predictability and scalability to grow this environment. From a database point of view, 10 times increase in dataset size, 10 to 30 times increase in concurrent queries or reports. And this is an important measurement we should not underestimate. The more flexibility you offer to your clients, the more concurrent your workload will be towards your underlying IT system. If we look at an application-related perspective, so you see a significant amount of numbers from the way you could accelerate the operation or significantly reduce related reporting or batch jobs. If you look at flash adoption in data center or IDs, you see 3 waves being deployed. The first one is where you try on a traditional legacy storage system to address the bottleneck, which is the disk, and you replace mechanics with silicon. It still remains a disk. The system gains an increase of performance. It is reacting faster to your needs, but at the end of the day, you are still limited to the controller-based architecture of the system. As this is not that easy to solve, we see the second generation of our flash introduction, which is a server-centric approach. So you put a further caching algorithm at the server in front of your underlying storage technology. It is obviously dedicated to a server. It is very hard to have a high availability solution. Performance is gaining benefits, especially in a read perspective, but at the end of the day, you have no sharing capability. That's the reasons why Violin focused strategically on building a purpose-built enterprise flash platform, which is entirely silicon-based. It gives the usual required availability scenario 24 times 7 times 364. But the main difference at the end of the day is that we guarantee you a predictable, sustainable performance independent of your read and write workload. I'm coming back to my point. Concurrent user, the more interaction you allow a customer to do, is also leading that customers retrieving information, changing information, storing changed information back. So the workload, the access pattern is to a certain extent quite unpredictable. So how do we handle this? So our innovation advantage is that the technology is from an intellectual property 100% owned by Violin Memory. As mentioned before, we have, based on the partnership with Toshiba, the NAND technology, but the way we bring NAND technology to the market is our own individual and patented technology. And that's the way on how we can achieve those kind of improvements in the environment. Just to give you an idea on how this looks like, so the system is as such full redundant. We have 6x9 availability. Everything is hot spare, hot swappable. We have our own VRAID protection, which is a patented solution from us. And we can drive with the current implementation of the system 1.3 million IOPS at a latency below 1 millisecond and a bandwidth of 4 gigabyte. And those are numbers which really make the difference compared to a legacy storage system. We like to prove this with benchmarks, so we have broken all the previous benchmarks in here, just to mention the last one, and also set it in perspective with a legacy storage system. At VMworld, we announced 1.3 million IOPS from one virtual machine on vSphere 5.1 against 3 units of Violin memory. The previous record from EMC was 1 million 1 year ago, and they needed 8 racks of VMAX. So just compare the infrastructure impact of 8 racks versus 6 units of Violin. That's the kind of impact we can drive into the environment. To demonstrate this from a latency point of view, by implementing flash technology into a data center as a strategic tier, you see from a latency point of view a 2 orders of magnitude difference on how fast your system is reacting towards your business needs. And if you translate this into typical environments, you see Violin is between 30 and 500 microseconds as a typical latency in a 70-30 read-write ratio workload. And if you translate this to a legacy storage system, you see a typical latency of 8 milliseconds upwards. So that's how we could help you making your application run faster and more predictable. That's an example of a UK customer which ran a credit card fraud management system on 4, the upper right one, on 4 VNX systems, and they couldn't cope with the load anymore. We won this customer in June this year, and if you compare once more from an infrastructure point of view, the customer used 150 units of traditional rack space, and we replaced this solution with 6 units of Violin. The entire fraud detection application faced an acceleration of 16 times. We always set this in perspective. You gain a significant acceleration of your application, and in parallel you have a significant reduction of your infrastructure, floor space, power and cooling requirement. So to summarize up, is the impact we can drive obviously is a significant reduction in storage by having existing storage systems being repurposed and used for reference data, so you get a much better return of investment on investments already done. With the capability of the system as such, we require less processing power. So as we are capable of driving higher IOPS from a systems perspective, you need less servers with less paths towards the data, and that's a capability you get, which obviously has an impact on your entire license of your database. less core needed, so you have an immediate impact on your licensing of your database. Obviously, if you come back to the examples I gave you, when you have multiple rack systems consolidated into a multiple of units, you obviously have a significant impact on a savings perspective from an operational cost point of view. If we look further where we are winning, so here there was quite a relationship between finance and telecommunication areas. There are common challenges in here, and mainly if you look at the finance sector, fraud detection, analytics, entire trade environments are where we already gained a lot of reference customers here in EMEA. So I hope this was a very short overview of what we could contribute to your business objectives. If you want to learn more details or how this could impact your operations, please feel free to contact us outside. I am at the Data Systems booth, and I'm here until tomorrow evening. So I would like to thank you and wish you, for the rest of the summit, a very good time. Thanks a lot.